It's time for MacBreak Weekly, a rumor monger special. We're going to talk about new MacBooks. We're going to talk about iOS 6. We're going to talk about maybe even the new iPhone. It's all coming up next with Andy, Alex, and me. MacBreak Weekly, right around the corner.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at Cachefly.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 301, recorded May 29th, 2012. Siri, tell me a joke. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD faces from Citrix. All you need is a webcam and a click to turn your online meeting into a high-definition video conference. Meet with clients and colleagues anywhere in the world, even from an iPad. Sign up for your 30-day free trial right now at GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the offer code MacBreak. And by Ford, giving customers the power of choice with a full line of electric and hybrid electric vehicles. Learn more about Ford electric vehicle technologies at Ford.com/technology. And by Pond 5, the world's stock media marketplace. If you're a media maker who needs stock video clips, photos, illustrations, music tracks, or sound effects, check out Pond 5 for instant downloads at the best prices anywhere. Pond5.com. And for 25% off this month, use the offer code TWiT25. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers Macintosh in every form and fashion, and iOS and all of that stuff, too. This is the show where we say I-O, yes. Mr. Andy Ihnatko is here from sweltering hot New England. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Leo. That you could almost write ad copy for like a local furniture store. IOU, we say IO, yes. This sectional can be yours.
Actually, for many years, it's exactly what I did. So I guess it does. Those skills die hard. Anyway, great to have you. Thank you for joining us today. And I love the picture behind you of Princess Leia. Is that a drawing? It looks like a painting.
It is a drawing by an artist by the name of Patrick Schoenmaker, S-E. I want to make sure I credited him, Schoenmaker. He does really wonderful like art prints of like Lucasfilm,
nice.
Lucasfilm things. But also, this is a scene that was, of course, wasn't part of the movie of Leia being captured and being presented to Jabba,
right?
And every single character from the palace is there, just sort of snickering, and oh goodness, it's wonderful.
Andy always gives us something interesting to look at. If you listen to the audio version, and most of you do, I know, sometime just download the video and look at Andy's backdrops. They're always good.
It's to distract from my lack of coherence.
Well, it's working because I think you're perfectly coherent. And over on my right-hand side, your left on the screen, from a back room somewhere in London, England, this looks like a scene out of Brazil, Mr. Alex Lindsay, pixelcore.com. Hello, Alex.
Hello. I am, hidden. There's a bunch of production, but I'm going the wrong way.
You've been in London for 2 whole weeks. You could practically call it home.
I've actually, I've been here finally long enough where I actually understand where everything is in relationship to everything else. So I'm kind of like figuring out, where all the pieces are. And I'm only going to be home for 10 or 12 days and then back here again for more. Wow. So
England's not a bad place to spend time.
It's really pretty fun,
especially this time of year.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's really hot. Like I came, I told someone, if I wanted sun and warmth, I would have just stayed in California. I came here expecting rain. I came with layers, and it's just been sweltering hot entire time I'm here. Yeah,
it's kind of chilly here, actually. You're better off. Windy too, very windy here. So MacBook rumors get the drumbeat. Is getting stronger and stronger. The latest, and this is the kind of thing that we here in the ink-stained media are always looking for, a price drop on the 2012 MacBook, at least at bestbuy.com. That's commonly, is it not, Andy, a symptom of a upcoming new product in that category? It's only $100. I mean, it's not. Well, I guess $200 on the higher models.
better to eat $100 right now than eat like $300 or $400 when Apple's going to be selling these things direct with much better specs at the same price. So,
right.
Yeah, that's usually one of the things. There are two things that you do look out for. Number one, you can't buy these things at any price, which means that Apple stopped making them a few months ago in anticipation of a release, or that the price has suddenly dropped, which means that suddenly certain stores know something that no one else knows, and they want to make sure they lose all their stock before the new model comes out.
Right.
So.
Now, this is Best Buy, not Apple itself.
Right.
And then
Apple probably would not drop the price themselves. They would much rather they have other channels to
right.
lose that product. And also, what better information about the channel does anybody have than Apple? They tend not to be caught with excess inventory.
They presumably have stopped making them for some time, and they're just dribbling out the last ones. They know exactly how many they sell every day, and they've got just enough to get to when? Next week? 2 weeks? WWDC is 2 weeks off, but I think we agree that they're not going to announce a new hardware line at WWDC.
They could. They could just use that opportunity and that audience just to simply roll out new notebooks. Remember that notebooks are kind of unusual in that you tend to want to get your new models out early enough so that all the schools that have to order in bulk or order large supplies of them can get their orders in time for the school year. That's a little bit. The person who first explained that to me a few years ago explained that usually that happens sometime in May. But that's usually the reason why when I look at timetables for shipping new systems, I tend to think April, May, June as opposed to September, October, November.
They do a keynote, of course, at the beginning of WWDC, but they've got lots to talk about. They've got iOS 6 to talk about. They've got mountain, snow, leopard, lion thing. What is it?
The only reason that I think that it might be something that they would possibly show new machines is if there's something about mountain lion that is going to take advantage of some of the new machines. And so so there's a contextual reason to bring that up.
Good point. And that's where the higher resolution display might play a factor.
Right. Yeah, so I think
that's
might,
possible.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'm saying all I was going to say is that it's new hardware is rarely a sort of demo where a CEO or someone high up demonstrates a feature and then goes boom and then waits for the applause. It's more like, yes, the processor is faster. Yes, the design is a little bit slimmer. Yes, the battery lasts just as long, even though the design is a little bit slimmer. It's not the sort of thing where you necessarily would need to bring everybody out to town hall for an hour-long 90-minute dog and pony show. But if you already have like a 90-minute presentation that you need to fill, that's mostly going to be developer stuff and mostly going to be OS stuff. You may as well use 10 minutes of that time to say, oh, here's the new MacBooks. Here's the table of prices. And now let's talk about our new Bangladesh Apple Store. We're very proud of the design here. It's shaped like a nougat.
And the nuts are on the inside. I think that this is an example of an upgrade that a lot of people might be waiting for, a fairly major upgrade, not merely a new chipset. It will have a new chipset, probably Ivy Bridge, but a new form factor, which we haven't seen on the MacBook line for some time, a thinner, according to the rumors, diskless, dare we say, profile, and, of course, a higher-res display. Isn't OS 10 resolution independent anyway? I mean, you could run it on any size screen, like most computers.
Well, I think that it can run on any size, but I don't think that we've really seen true resolution independence the way that I think is being promised, which is that it's automatically trying to keep everything the same size, the text the same size. I mean, that's always been the big challenge. If you have a little bit of a rough time reading small text, moving to 1920 by 1200 might be a little bit more of a challenge. And so I think that one of the things that is going to be interesting in the new operating system is whether that is going to keep everything relatively the same size, but just have it all be a lot sharper. Right. And I think that, and then when you change whatever resolution it's going to, the relative size of the text, of the images, all of that stays the same, which in a lot of ways, if it works well, is a huge advantage for designers, because you're designing for a space rather than a specific set of pixels. And finally, all those people that don't understand pixels, everything will start making sense, because they no longer can say, well, it's 4.5 inches wide. And we always say, well, how many pixels is it?
Right.
A designer, and all of that goes away, and you really just make it whatever size you're going to make it.
And according to Digitimes, and about whom we've, of course, talked in the past about their, legendary accuracy, according to Digitimes, Apple's massive orders for the next generation MacBook Pros are causing havoc for its supply chain, with many facing labor shortages as they struggle to meet demand. Others have been forced to outsource their business as a desperate attempt to complete orders before they start shipping. Sources for Digitimes have revealed that component manufacturing plants in eastern China have been taken by surprise in what is usually the IT industry's traditional slow season. Apparently not.
Evidently, everyone was on vacation. Everyone at Foxconn was taking a break.
We're not
They were
here
out with
right
the family.
now. Please leave a message at the tone. If you've got a new computer, we'll be back after the holiday. Labor shortages mean many are unable to meet demand, while others have had to call for help from other suppliers. The new notebooks entered production back in April, according to the report, when suppliers began delivering its chassis. Production ramps up in June, ready for the new MacBooks possibly launch in July. I have to say, we might as well just throw this out. Did you see, first of all, we talked, I think, last week or the week before about Harry McCracken's great piece in Time magazine, in which he went through, in fact, Harry was on TWiT on this on Sunday. I should have thanked him for that. He went through one by one all the rumors from Digitimes, and they were pretty bad. Digitimes actually responded. Joseph Chen, deputy managing editor, wrote to Harry and said, "Thank you for writing about us. Digitimes has indeed reported much on Apple, and many of the products that we said would be launched have never been launched or have had their launches delayed. But that does not mean we were crying wolf or passing along gossip. In fact, Apple have had a lot of its R&D projects and ideas tried out at its supply chain partners in Asia. Many of the prototypes created by the supply chain partners will never make it to the market after Apple assessments. This is one of the major reasons why a lot of information we have disclosed has been seen by others as inaccurate, but is still valuable to our reader base in the supply chain. We understand the risks behind the kind of reporting." So they're saying, and by the way, he says, "In the future, we will implement even stricter requirements for verifications of such stories. We'll also add more analyses to such stories to provide readers with more info." You know, I mean, you cannot say that that we can't fill orders for this, 5 MacBook Pros we're going to make. So I don't know. I don't know if I buy this apology, and I don't know if I buy this story, but I do believe deep in my heart of hearts, that Apple will have an Ivy Bridge MacBook Pro. I don't think it'll be July. I think it'll be soon. I wouldn't buy, let's put it this way, I wouldn't buy a laptop now. Right? How about Airs? Do you think they'll update the Airs?
Unknown. That's a different thing. I mean, the MacBook Pros are up for a much bigger refresh than the Airs are. Last year was really a breakthrough year for the airline. But this, I would be surprised if Apple didn't at least give it a tweak, because they seem to be on like annual updates for just about everything. I'd
go with Ivy Bridge. My only thing, I guess Ivy Bridge is a lot hotter. It might not be suitable.
Yeah. I mean, it's an obvious choice for the Pro line, not necessarily an obvious choice for the Airs.
Right.
I think it's an obvious upgrade for the Mac Pros.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what Amy's saying.
But I mean, like, the MacBook Pros, I think we're definitely seeing.
Oh, the Mac Pros you're talking about. Well, yeah, where is the Mac Pro? Because Ivy Bridge for the desktop has been out for a month. Where is the Mac Pro?
We just want one more upgrade.
I'm wondering,
I'm asking one Thunderbolt upgrade.
I mean, I now know 2 photographers and a videographer who are building Hackintoshes because they want Ivy Bridge, and they're not necessarily convinced that there's going to be a Mac Pro that's going to be worth whatever additional weight there's going to be for them.
Wow, that's kind of interesting.
Even though firmware support for Ivy Bridge, even in the Hackintosh line, is sketchy at best.
Right.
But these people are willing to spend about $1,400, $1,500 to build what is a kick-butt, like 7-bay tower, because they're convinced that if they want Ivy Bridge sooner rather than later, they're going to have to do it themselves. Strikes me. We're going to have to I'll get a chip expert on next week, because we'll get Anand or somebody to talk about Ivy Bridge next week, because I think if you're going to understand where Apple's going with its next generation of desktops and laptops, you need to understand Ivy Bridge, which is the current Intel system on it. Well, it's not exactly a system on a chip, but the Ivy Bridge does not run hotter, says MavHC, but of course it runs hotter if you overclock it. It runs a lot hotter. The laptop part, I presume the mobile part is not so hot. But I wonder. See, there is more in the Ivy Bridge that Apple could say, hey, and to take advantage of USB 3, for instance. Architecture built into Ivy Bridge, we're going to add USB 3. I think maybe you're right. I think there does need to be some explanation about this particular jump. Yeah, and a lot of it, I just the other day I had occasion to compare the previous generation MacBook with the previous Intel CPU with like the 2011 model, because I had to take my previous MacBook out of storage because I needed a piece of software that I didn't have the license code for anymore, so I actually had to take this thing out of the closet and recharge it just to run this one app. And that's when I realized that, my goodness, I'm sitting on the sofa with this thing on my lap, and I've been using this machine for 90 minutes, and like my foot is not like fried to a crisp. Because the CPU is just a cooler running CPU. Whereas with my 2011 era MacBook Pro, I actually have a special like thermal pad that I slide underneath it just so that I can like sit so comfortably on the sofa with the thing. So that could be another element of how to stick this chip inside a mobile machine. And even on a desktop, that could be an issue. I mean, you don't want to. Is Apple going to have their first like Cray style tower liquid cooling pyramid on top of it?
They did do liquid cooling for a brief moment, didn't they, on the Mac Pros? There was a liquid,
there's the G5 at least was liquid cooled. Others were, but maybe that's actually like that really wonderful glass cylinder like in one of the China stores. Maybe that's just like a prototype for what's going to be like at the top of every. There's going to be like a Mr. Fusion like tower on the top of every Mac Pro now. You get to choose the color.
Are you guys are on Facebook, right?
Sure. I have an account that I haven't deleted. No.
Well, yes. Here's a chance to join the massive petition, facebook.com/MacProsPlease. We want a new Mac Pro, 12,790 likes. I'm going to add my link to the likes. Hello, Apple. We are the creative community, and we are looking for a little clarity on one of our favorite products, the Mac Pro Tower. Is that too much to ask? Signed, Lou Barella. So there you go. There you go. Now picking up steam at a Facebook page near you. I'm sure there are other petitions. It was launched on May 8th, so it's doing all right. Apparently had 20.
If everybody on that list bought a Mac Pro, it would make about as much money as they make selling iPhones at the San Francisco store in a day. That's the problem. I'm a realist.
Yeah. So maybe what we need to do is get 1 million on. What would be the number? Right. What would be the magic number?
I think 1 million would get their attention.
1 million people. But remember, and I've had this experience ourselves, here at TWiT, people will say, we demand, we want. We get thousands of people saying, we want, I don't know what, a gaming show, and then nobody watches it. So it's easy to say we want. I want commitment to buy. That's what I want if I'm Apple. We commit. Why don't, as an Apple, do a Kickstarter and says we will make a new Mac Pro if we get 1 million people who buy one.
If 1 million people do it, Tim Cook will take off his shirt
and send you a nice picture.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what Apple needs to do, a Kickstarter campaign for the Mac Pro.
I do think that there is just a massive pent-up demand for the Mac Pro. There's so many of us that are holding on to our production systems, just waiting for one more upgrade, knowing that there's only going to be one more upgrade, and just really ready to jump on it and buy a couple machines. And so I think it would be a pretty lucrative process for Apple. I think probably enough to make it worth it, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. Andy Ihnatko, Alex Lindsay, Leo Laporte. We want a Mac Pro. Here there are 3 people, Apple. No, see, Andy's too cheap. He won't buy one.
I won't buy one.
I already have
my iPad does fine.
8-way Xeon i7, whatever, 16 triple, and it's not even that fast. I don't use it for anything. I use my laptop on the kitchen counter. Alex will buy 50, though.
I would probably buy at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there.
So I'll make up for both of you.
Make him happy. Because you're right. Andy and I are not going to commit. And I think this is part of the problem is I'm perfectly content now to use an iMac or a laptop.
Well, I will say that there's a lot of things that we used to only be able to do, and Thunderbolt has changed a lot of that for us, because a lot of what we used expansion slots for, we're now using Thunderbolt components. And so I think that is like we used to use Mac Pros for our graphics, for doing on-air graphics, and now we're using Mac Minis to do the same thing with with AJA IOXTs and Blackmagic boxes and stuff like that. And that just was totally impossible 6 months ago.
All right. One of our chatters says, why are they leading with this story? So I'm going to tell him, I'll do your story next. You tell me what story we should do next.
MacBreak. I think it's because it's called MacBreak.
MacBreak. Wait, I'm trying to do Mac stories.
We're talking about Macs, you know.
So Web 1585, what is your top story? It's all on you.
And if everybody complains about it, we're going to
remember, if you fund at the $2,500 level,
I'll send you a topless picture.
We will
come on.
We will report on any story you want. Or at the $10,000 level, we will put exactly the spin on it that you want.
Okay, he's come up with his next story. iPhone leaks coming up next.
Leaks what? What is it leaking?
What is it leaking?
Give us something to go on.
But first, a word from GoToMeeting. I brought my special, very special GoToMeeting barbecue apron home, or I'd be wearing it right now, topless. GoToMeeting is very, very cool. They came by to show us GoToMeeting on the iPad the other day, and they gave me an apron, which was very nice. GoToMeeting from Citrix. I like the Citrix folks a lot. We invite them up here an awful lot. And they are just so proud of what they've done with GoToMeeting and the new HD faces. It started by, using your camera. In fact, they said we've been getting a lot of requests to do your podcasts with GoToMeeting. So I said, if you can get this high quality video, GoToMeeting with HD faces video is amazing, into a form that I can use instead of Skype, I'll use it. I will use it. But I mean, it's really GoToMeeting so much more. It's really about sharing your screen and sharing your picture. It's for training, collaboration, sales. There's something about having a client see you seeing a client. And on the iPad now, too, you'll use the iPad camera to share your video with your client. They can meet with you on a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, or an iPhone. That's awesome. And on the iPad, they even send video. Not yet on the iPhone, although I can imagine that's coming. One of the nice things Citrix does, they're always upgrading, kind of spontaneously. $49 a month for as many meetings as you want, as long as you want, but you can try it free for the first month with the offer code MacBreak. Mac or PC, iPad or iPhone, there is no better way to meet, collaborate, train, present than GoToMeeting. And the new HD Faces uses the built-in camera on your laptop. It works great with the Logitech, with any camera. Just a point and a click and a boom. You don't have to open any ports or do anything. It just does it. Absolutely secure 228-bit SSL, point all the way from you to your meetees. The Internet Telephony Product of the Year. GoToMeeting with HD Faces, according to Internet Telephony Magazine, and I think rightly so. I want you to try it today free. Go to GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, use the offer code MacBreak. MacBreak. All right, I'm going to go to 9 to 5 Mac. That's where the top hot new iPhone rumors, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Black and white next-gen metal iPhone backs, a photo, plus a mini dock, taller screen, and yes, they've moved the earphone jack. These are good pictures from 9 to 5 Mac. And, of course, rumor mill being what it is. As we get closer, though, to a product shipping, you often get these kinds of images.
I'm pretty excited about the whole headphone moving rumor.
Where do they put it? So this is a front and a back you're looking at. Black and white versions. Actually, no, there's a back and a back, isn't it? Yeah, they're both backs. The black and white coloring is trim. A large portion of the back is made out of metal. Maybe this is that liquid metal. It's interesting. If they do use metal, first of all, the glass broke. It was a problem. And metal might be better for an antenna, right? I don't know. The metal antenna, it looks like, is molded into the metal back plates. Will they do a unibody enclosure? It does look like they still have the square-ish sides that the iPhone 4, but rounded corners. Apple's famous rounded corners. The long-rumored smaller dock connector is present. Oh, see, I'm not happy about that. You see that at the bottom?
I have a lot of docks. I
have so many 30-pin connectors and docks. I don't want them to change this form factor.
That's actually a $200 add to the cost of the phone for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will not be happy if they do that. Maybe they'll ship an adapter, but it's still not good because it won't fit in a dock with an adapter.
Right.
Well, Scotia used to make an adapter when they went to the powered pins a few years ago. And also, maybe Apple's not necessarily expecting everybody to replace their phone every single year. So
Really?
I would be disappointed if they did it just because somebody inside the design team said, we don't want to disturb the harmonious, clean lines with the long slot anymore. That's not a good reason to change the dock connector. But if they're putting more signals on that dock connector or making it a value
pins.
add, that's okay.
You could do anything you want. You got 30 pins.
You got power, you got audio, you got video, you got all kinds of
How
cool
much stuff do you want to do? I mean, this is smaller. It's got the other thing, and this is where the new I see it now. The new earphone connectors on the bottom. Wrong. Remember the old iPods had a connector on the bottom next to the 30-pin earphone next to the 30. Terrible idea. You can't dock it and use the headphones.
Realize that now when you hold your iPhone, all the cables are now going to be like if this
coming
is
out
true,
of the bottom.
All the cables will be coming out of the bottom, so you don't have this sort of like dangly.
I guess
it's not this $300 bead on a slim wire. So I could see why they would want them both coming out of the same end. But yeah, that was the one that kind of got me concerned because my single most frequently used iPhone accessory is my car dock.
Right.
And it's a universal dock, but it does like have a set of fingers that grips it from the bottom. And if every time that I'm using an Android device that has really weird layout of cables, I realize that, oh man, I'm gonna have to like hold it insecurely in this thing, if at all. Why did they decide to do anything clever with where these things plug in? Yeah, that's a problem. But each person is going to have individual problems, no matter where they decide to put these connectors. Again, I'm just hoping that I'm just hoping that if this happens and if they roll this out, they will have a functional reason. They won't just stick an executive out there saying that, doesn't it look pretty with no holes at the top and all the holes at the bottom? So I don't care if you're getting $300 out of me. I don't care if it's pretty. I wanted to actually do the job that I needed to do, sir. Or madam.
I hope this is a bogus rumor. New grill, big deal. But here's the other thing I'm not too happy about. Actually, you'll be happy about, Alex. So we see the camera, we see an LED, and there's something in between the camera and LED. It looks like a slot for a microphone. So when you're shooting at the back, there'll be a microphone while you shoot. That might be the second microphone, the noise-canceling microphone. That would make sense to put that on the back.
Now, why don't you like that, Leo? Why does it upset you?
Actually, because I shoot the other way.
Oh. You shoot the other way?
Don't you taught me to do that. You know, with a tadpole, you look into the camera.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It'll still work.
But it makes sense. It'll still work. I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
My guess would be that would be the noise cancellation.
That's the noise canceling mic, but maybe when you go into video mode it becomes, I don't know. Yeah. Now we're really stretching. Now we're really stretching. The iPod
to stretch that even further, what you could do is possibly have the mics changing based on which direction, which camera it's getting, and using the other one as the cancellation.
Yep. All right, let's see what else. This is all from 9 to 5 Mac. They got more. There's more. There's a thing that goes in the middle. They're saying unibody. Long rumored smaller dock connector, earphone jack moved to the bottom. Photos of the next generation iPhone parts other than the black and white backs. Photo above is a next generation iPhone frame that holds in components like the home button, which is definitely present. In case you heard a rumor that was gone. They couldn't change that. According to our supply chain sources who obtain these parts, frame indicates new iPhone will be the same width as the 4 and 4S, but longer. That's what the rumors has all seemed to agree on.
So it sounds like it's really going to a 16 by 9.
Yeah, taller screen, 16:9 if you turn it sideways.
Mm-hmm.
Screen resolution said to be 1136 by 640 with a screen size of almost exactly 4 inches diagonally. Does that make sense? Andy, do some math for us. It's way beyond me.
The square root of 144 is 12.
Thank you. Well done. I guess I could go to the let me go to the DPI calculator and see what that There is a PPI calculator I've used before, and see if I can enter in those numbers and see what we get. So 1136 by 640.
If that is true, though, wouldn't it surprise you a little? Wouldn't you be surprised if they went to the trouble of changing the screen definition of the iPhone and didn't do it so that they could say, oh, by the way, and now this shows videos in full HD. Without 720 is okay for HD, but why would they? Yeah.
What is the? That's a 325, almost 326 pixels per inch. That's nice high resolution. What is the?
That's way higher than what they've got right now.
It doesn't sound right, does it?
Yeah.
Could they go Super Retina? It's the new Super Retina display.
How they got Lizard Retina display?
325. The current iPhone is. Let me look it up here. 329. No, it's pretty close. That's pretty close. So it's roughly the same. According to our sources, glass has room for a taller display, same width, blah, blah, blah. Camera lens for the front, the FaceTime camera, has moved above the earpiece. It is now centered. Who cares? Rumored edge-to-edge technology not coming in this phone. If you look on the frame, there is a bezel. Not much of a bezel. And these have micro SIMs, not the micro SIMs from the 4 and 4S, not the new micro SIMs. Okay, there you go. I think these are fairly credible. Once you get to this point, it's not unusual for parts like these to leak out. And in the past, 9to5's had these. So
it's pretty difficult to build those parts from scratch. I just want to say, those are photos of something.
They're something.
I guess.
Yeah. Somebody's, and they don't look photoshopped or anything.
Yeah.
Apple's researching Stylus concepts with optical tracking and haptic feedback. This is just a patent, but
it does seem like it's going to get more and more important to have some sort of fine-grained, pressure-sensitive stylus support at the system level. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that they've spent. I think the past couple of app-oriented ads that they've done for the iPad have shown things like really cool drawing programs for it. And that's one of the features that every time that there is a Kickstarter or some sort of a project for a pressure-sensitive stylus gets lots and lots of attention. If they are really saying that the iPad is going to be a highly creative tablet, I think they're going to need to beef up the pen input a little bit. Also, they're going to get some competition next year from Windows 8. Which already basically says that, look, this is a touch-based interface, but we're just as happy letting you do styluses at the API level as we are letting you access everything by touch. So I really think that there's nothing but upside for Apple to not necessarily package a stylus with the next generation iPad, but at least to wire it all up so that if somebody wants to license that technology to build their own styluses, just as right now you have to license the dock connector in order to use to develop compatible hardware accessories. I think that's nothing but win for Apple.
Galaxy Note is pressure sensitive. The stylus. So this has something I have not seen before: haptic feedback. So the thing buzzes, so you can get vibration from touching stuff. So that's used, I guess, to help you find edges and. Like if you're drawing,
well, we see that. And there's a little bit of that when you're using a Galaxy 2S. So you're using I don't know. Do you have that where you're typing and you're feeling that little bit of a buzz?
Yeah, they use a little vibration. I don't think it's really very good, but
I find it kind of
useful.
I kind of like it. I think if it was tuned, it would actually be a great solution.
Apple will do it right. Anyway, it's just a patent. I don't usually report on patents. This comes from unwiredview.com. And this patent was applied for a couple of years ago, just published this week for a stylus, pressure sensitive. It looks like more like a tablet, might be more for the iPad, and with haptic feedback. Actually, no, that's the iPhone there, or something like it. We could start a new rumor: a fat, wide iPhone. Does have a home button. I don't know. Is that a tablet? Maybe that's the 7-inch tablet. Anyway, moving right along. God, as long as we're in the rumors, should we just keep going with rumors?
Sure.
Yeah, it's the rumor mill. It's the rumor mill episode.
It's the first day after our first day back after a 3-day weekend. I'd much rather be able to say, "Oh, that's just a whole lot of balloon juice," and then
move on,
and then eat leftover hamburgers, and have to think about, well, in an SEC filing dated not just 3 months ago, Samsung actually did mention.
I do like the TechCrunch article by John Biggs, who says, think of the docks. Could the new iPhone have a micro USB connector? I don't, we're seeing so many pictures, and this is from another one, iFix.com, of exactly the same back, exactly the same bottom, exactly the same. I have to think this is real, unless somebody took all the time to fabricate something like this and pass it around.
And if they did, all I got to say is well done. Well played.
This is depressing. I'm not happy if they change the dock connector. Is it a micro USB port? Maybe that's. Remember it's hard to tell. It could be.
Well, and the thing is that does handle the whole issue in Europe. So there's the requirements now in many of these countries. So that would put all of that to rest if Apple finally put a micro USB. The one thing that's interesting though is that Apple makes a lot of money on licensing access to that 30 pin, to get full licensing. So it is an interesting thing that they'd be handing off if they did that.
Well, I guess I could, if it were a micro USB, I could live with that because at least we're moving towards a standards-based connector, and that would be good. And you're right; it's mandated in Europe that all phones use that, right?
I think right now how Apple handles that is some little adapter,
right?
But it would definitely be cleaner and more Apple-like for it to just work. So so I could definitely see them moving that direction.
So something that's very non-Apple-like is them making a fundamental change to the hardware to conform to a regulation that they can fix by just putting another 3-cent part in the box.
True.
Also, the micro USB doesn't have the same signaling the 30-pin connector has. So a lot of devices like these video adapters would probably have to be modified.
That's right.
Or they'd have to have a separate adapter for that kind of a use, or a separate connector, which would obviate the whole purpose. So
I'm gonna add up the cost of all the 30-pin connectors I bought over the last 5 years. Yeah. It's got to be thousands of bucks. I mean, it's ridiculous. Connectors and docks, and I'll have to replace all of them.
I mean, I will say that I would love for them to switch to some sort of a standard thing, because I probably now have like 2 or 3 video connectors, because whether I'm going into Boston for a short meeting, but damn it, I forgot this one thing. Okay, let's go to the Boylston Street Apple Store and spend $30 on another connector just because I need to have this for the meeting, and I can't go all the way back home to get it right now. Or rather in another city where I left it behind at the podium, my last place I was speaking to, and you really do value the ability to have just 2 or 3 of these things in a bag and not have your whole life around this one oddball connector that you must keep track of.
Here's
all the time.
The 8-pound, and I mean that in British pound sterling connector that they sell or I guess bundle in countries where it's required, a micro USB adapter. And I realize now my Mophie case has a micro USB. So when I use my Mophie, I sync and charge via the micro USB, which is fine. I don't know though if it does everything that the 30-pin. I'm sure it doesn't do video and digital and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So here's the question, a good question from the chat room. Is there enough power to do Thunderbolt on an iPhone? Wouldn't it be interesting if this were a Thunderbolt connector?
I don't think so.
It doesn't look like one from the photo, though.
No, it's not the right shape.
Also, that's a really, really thick connector. So that would really limit what they could do with the frame of the case. They'd have to basically, I think it would occupy the entire iPhone from front glass to back glass if they did it that way. Also, I'm not if they are free to do a modified version of the Thunderbolt connector that does not deliver the full amount of power, then they could do it. I don't believe there's enough power to. They're not going to be able to drive a display off the iPhone unless they really, really. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm thinking as I'm answering. When I looked at the specs for Thunderbolt, the demands that it makes off of the CPU are pretty substantial. And at the time, I thought, okay, so I guess that means that you can't necessarily do anything smaller than an iPad class machine, because no phone would have the sort of battery that could really support Thunderbolt. Again, but we've seen in the past that Apple has done sort of like a split USB, where one USB port delivers the full power that USB commands. The other port is not quite enough to charge a full range of devices. So I don't see that happening, though.
So fall for the new iPhone?
I'd say so.
And maybe next month.
Yeah, likely.
Next month, maybe for the new MacBooks.
Yeah. And if they do change the display resolution or the change aspect ratio, WWDC is a place where you would expect them to pop that onto the developers. So you could expect if that's what they're doing, you wouldn't be surprised to see them show off the new iPhone in a couple of weeks, but then maybe not necessarily ship it until the end of the year. Yeah,
iOS 6. You'd announce that. Here's the rumor of the week. Foxconn, according to the Boy Genius report, reportedly begins taking orders for the Apple TV. Apple Chinese manufacturing partner Foxconn has reportedly begun accepting orders, according to Build an Apple TV said, according to Sina, the Chinese news website. Trial production stage. This might be one of those that Digitimes is talking about.
Right, where they're
just playing with it,
making a few,
seeing how it works.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you do that at home? Why would you do that at Foxconn?
Well, you have to make sure that the whole pipeline is going to work. I mean, it's one thing to do it, and you got to make sure the entire piece is going.
So, but that means so you would do that when it's fairly far along. You've decided on the design, you decided on how it's going to be built, what it's going to be made of, all of that stuff. Now you go to your suppliers and say, "Can you build this? Build me 10." Yeah. And how hard is that going to be to build? What new machines would you perhaps need us to buy? Things like that.
Well, I think definitely if you're doing an entirely new pipeline and you're doing an entirely new setup, you would need you have to run that through the entire system to figure out really how much it's going to cost and whether all the parts are going to work and whether you can produce 1 million of these, not just whether you can produce. I think we don't usually hear these rumors, but you definitely, anything that you're doing that needs to be pushed out in mass, you have to do test runs.
And when would you do that? A year, 5 months, a week? When before the?
I really think that if we're going to see an Apple TV, we're going to see it somewhere between October 1st and Thanksgiving
this year.
Black Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
I think Apple's more in that direction.
Wow.
And my lights all turned off. I'll be right back.
Actually, wait a minute. I like that shot.
You like that?
All right. Go ahead. Turn on your lights.
All right.
While Alex is turning the lights back on, I'll talk about something quite apropos: the Ford electric Focus. The lights never go out on the Ford Focus. Ford.com/technology. We've been waiting for this. It was announced at not CES this year, but CES 2011. And here it is at your Ford EV certified Ford dealer near you. And I'll tell you what, this is a sweet vehicle. The 2012 Ford Focus, of course, 0 emissions because it's electric. The best, most fuel-efficient 5-passenger vehicle in America, with a city fuel efficiency rating better than all of 110 mpge. That's best in its class. And if you purchase the 240-volt charging station, the best charging time in its class, 3 to 4 hours. That's half the time of the Leaf. 3 to 4 hours charging. You may even be eligible for significant federal tax credit. This is a really cool vehicle. Regenerative braking means that 90% of the power energy lost in braking gets preserved and sent right back to the battery. That's one of the ways they get a 76-mile range. And a sweet-looking car. Look at this. They've really done a very, very nice job. The first passenger vehicle from Ford powered by electricity alone, and it is here. Some say, why did it take so long, Ford? Because they wanted to do it right. Here's that home charging station. That's optional, 240 volt. It's very easy, though. You can plug it into a regular 120 AC. It just takes longer to charge. But with a 240, and it's a simple installation, with a Leviton 240 charger, you are going to be charging in 3 to 4 hours, 76-mile range. This is going to be a practical vehicle. That's what I love about it. It never needs an oil change. Maintenance is very easy on electric vehicles. And also, they have really updated the internals, the electronics in the car, the My Ford Touch, the Ford Sync, optimized for electrified driving. Vehicle information like fuel level, battery power level, and average and instant miles per gallon. You can use their smartphone apps, which I love, to control charging. It'll tell you how much is left. And then they have the My Ford mobile website as well. This is so cool that you have these capabilities. These are the charge settings on your smartphone. This is an Android one, but it also works on the iPhone. I like the little ring. With the My Ford mobile app, you can precondition your vehicle temperature before your departure. That means you warm or chill the vehicle. Well, really, this is actually something that's different in an electric vehicle. You don't have all that engine heat to heat the car. It takes the battery. So they say, warm up your car while it's plugged in. I love that. This is all in the phone. This is what it took. Thinking hard about what you need in an electric vehicle and making sure it's there. I have to say, really sweet stuff. You're going to want to check it out. Go drive one at an EV certified Ford dealer near you, or find out more on the website. That's where I am right now, Ford.com/technology. It's a state-of-the-art 23 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery system. 23 kilowatt. I wish my phone had 23 kilowatt hours. It'd go all year. That is so cool. And next year, look for the 2013 Ford Fusion Energy plug-in hybrid. Thank you, Ford, for making great vehicles and for letting me spend a little time to talk about them on our show. Your lights back on, Alex?
They are.
What is it, the middle of the night there? What happened?
No, I'm in another part of a room that has an auto, energy efficient auto setting where if it doesn't see anybody moving, it just turns all the lights off. And I'm in you see these black curtains between me and the sensor.
You got to be dancing around a little bit more.
I have to dance all the way around to the other side of the black curtains, which, then be hard to hear me.
Apple retail stores will sell the Nest thermostat, according to iLounge. I'm glad to hear that. Tony Fadell, the guy who designed it, of course, was one of the designers of the original iPod. It's a Wi-Fi-enabled thermostat. We've played with it and love it. Everybody I know who's used it loves it. It's just expensive, and it's been a little hard to get. $249. That's the same price as they're selling it online.
I think the biggest problem there is just filling the channel if they're going to put it into the Apple Store.
They need to make more, yeah.
That's been the hardest thing, is just being able to get one.
Do you have one?
I don't have one. My back house is kind of, I kind of control it there, so I don't.
I would really love to get one of those.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about getting one for the front house. It's remarkably simple to, you think that they're very complicated and they're hooked into something big, but there's just all they're telling the heater to do is turn on and off. So taking the one out that you have and putting another one in is not usually that complicated.
Yeah, I have a friend who bought a bunch of them.
Oh, really?
And he's pretty happy with it. It does all the things that the demo says it does, where it does learn about your movements. It's easy to set up. It's easy to modify. It's cool, which is also really
super cool.
Which is also part of it. I mean, you'd like to see gadgets that are built more like this thing, where it's a really nice combination of touch, color, and mechanical interface. But it did surprise me to find out that to hear this rumor that it's going to be carried in the Apple Store, because it is really easy to switch out a thermostat, but it still involves remove this thing that's probably been in this house since the Johnson administration. Undo some screws, expose a couple of wires, insert these two wires into this new thing, mount it back into this wall, hoping that it's not you didn't rip out the screw heads in the plaster. It's not a complicated thing to set up, but it's not exactly like plugging in a USB color printer. So,
I think most people would hire an electrician to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's a major overhaul. It's not like they have to change their entire heating system, to make that work. And
it's not. It's just an odd consumer device. I mean, just like the Dyson vacuum is also a really cool, advanced design device. It's probably the i device of vacuum cleaners.
I have one and I love it, but it's totally overpriced. It's ridiculous.
But you wonder about, well, what is it about this that says that this is part of the constellation of Apple products? I mean, they don't all have to be made by Apple. They don't all have to necessarily dock with an iPad in order to earn their keep. But it just seems like sort of an odd inclusion inside the Apple Store. I mean,
I think it's so Mac-like, though. I think it is such a Mac, or not Mac, but iApp like hardware device where it just works. The thing is that you pick it up and you play with it and you immediately know what it's going to do. And I can't. It took me like 6 months to figure out what the Honeywell thing that I have in my house.
My fan goes off every Sunday and Wednesday night, and I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I must have pressed a button, but instead of trying to figure it out, I know every Wednesday and Sunday night I've got to go turn the fan off.
But at the same time, like a Windows phone is also very Apple and Mac-like. Why don't they sell Windows phones in the Apple Store then?
Oh well, wait a minute now. Let's not go crazy.
You can buy the George Foreman grill and like Bondi.
It's true. It is going a little far for the Apple Store, isn't it? I wonder if that's the Tony Fadell connection, or that's a good point. Or they don't sell any other home improvement items.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the beginning. Apple stores will start selling toilet paper. Apple-approved toilet paper. Apple-approved.
Maybe they're going to be expanding the Apple Store. Next to the Apple Store, there's going to be sort of a Palm Depot. Get it? Palm Depot. P-O-M. Okay, well, that was really funny inside my head.
You mean the French word for apple?
The French word for apple.
Got it. I had to think about it. Palm Depot. Siri Lite. One last rumor, and then I'll move on. Siri Lite may surface in Mountain Lion if beta code tidbits are being correctly interpreted. According to Karen Haslam, writing in Macworld UK, Siri-like dictation might be a secret feature in the Mountain Lion. In the new Mountain Lion seed, there's a reference to a key press combination, command, that starts dictation. Command. Get used to that. Are there two command buttons on all the Apple keyboards? Yeah. Command.
I have to say now that I'm used to Siri, now I'm used to dictating.
I like it.
And I had on my new computer, I hadn't reinstalled Dragon. I just had, just busy and I hadn't put it in. And I just realized I just couldn't stand the idea of writing anything longer than about 3 lines without dictating it. So I finally got it back in. But it was because I was using Siri to do all my text messages and everything else.
On the iPad, I've been doing a lot of email on the iPad using the dictation. It's really great.
Yeah. You get trained.
You get trained, exactly.
Right, you learn how to talk, and as soon as you do that, you sound a little funny. You sound very formal.
You have to speak very carefully. And I don't know why, but do you do this when you speak to Siri? Do you add inflection?
I sometimes do. Oftentimes when I'm speaking for dictation, I sound like this, period.
Sometimes I sound monotonic.
Yes.
But then I notice sometimes I'll be dictating texts on Siri, and I'll add the emphasis. I'll get all head up. I say, no, I am absolutely not going to be able to do that, period, ! New paragraph. And it's a very strange experience.
Oftentimes, I think to myself, open quote,
yes.
What am I doing here? Close quote, period.
I think that we're seeing like a change in the generations. Like when I think all of us were growing up, you knew that mom was really mad at you when she addressed you and used your middle name.
Yes.
Now parents know, oh my God, she's using her Siri voice with me. She really wants me to do this exactly. She's not going to stand for anything from me.
I'm sorry,
Andy.
Go
upstairs.
Ernest Ihnatko.
Brush your teeth with the toothbrush. Then go straight to bed. Period.
Have you seen? I almost want to call him Sir John Malkovich. He's not a sir. Have you seen the new John Malkovich Apple ads? Let's play. I think I can play these without getting pulled from YouTube.
Weather?
Nice weather coming up today through this Tuesday.
Evening?
You don't have anything on your calendar for this evening.
Fantastic. Linguiça.
I found 5 restaurants whose reviews mention linguiça fairly close to you.
Joke?
2 iPhones walk into a bar. I forget the rest.
That's funny.
Was it something I said?
Yes, it was.
I can't wait for the Christopher Walken iPhone ads.
Siri, just the other day, I was driving along and I saw a possum by the side of the road. Its brains were smashed all over the blacktop, and its fur reminded me of a coat that my dad used to wear on cold nights when he would leave us. You're freaking me out.
I think it's
John
only a matter
Malkovich.
of time. I mean, they've had Zoe Deschanel. We talked about that. There were some Samuel Jackson ones, right? And then
That's weird,
Malkovich.
though. Are these celebrity ads like really weird? Because the focus isn't so much on the technology so much as, hey, cool, that's Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
He's talking to Siri as though like he's going to be putting the moves on Siri later on. It's as opposed to, oh, great technology, useful, practical, and stylish, all at an affordable price. The iPhone 4S. Go to your local Apple store.
I won't play. There are a lot of parody ones. I can't play this one. This is Chris Brown and the Siri. And she gets upset with him. She kind of starts swearing at him. Then Joey Deschanel. We played. I think we played it. I don't know if it was last week or on TWiT. The fake Zoe Deschanel, which was very funny. Ozzy, you want to do a Siri ad? I think my dog wants to do a Siri ad as well. I want them to put dictation into the Mac. I admit that it's going to be a problem in an office, in a library, in school. There are places you won't want to use it, but at home when it's quiet, I like to talk to my computer.
It's so much faster and so much more. I mean, when you get used to it, the ability to put out an enormous amount of information onto a page is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And no way.
What I do find interesting, though, is I don't know, Andy, I don't know if you've done a lot of dictation, but my writing voice is very different when I dictate than when I type.
That's interesting. Is it more like you?
Well, that's absolutely natural. When
I type, I'm much more sarcastic, like much more sarcastic and edgy, and I don't know, and I'm much less that way when I'm more verbose, obviously, when I'm speaking.
Who's our vote? Go ahead, Andy. You were going to say something.
I was just going to say that's a standard like writing technique. Where if you're worried about the meter or the rhythm or the clarity of what you're writing, you should really just speak your text aloud. And at the point where you actually can't even like speak this entire sentence in one breath, you realize that that's a place you want to cut. But we have to agree to disagree. I think that I've tried to use dictation both in rare times when I've done something stupid like forget that I'm in my 40s and not 17 years old, and done something with a hockey stick in my hand that someone in their 40s should not be doing, and decide, okay, I guess I'm going to rest my hands for a couple days here and try to do dictation. But it's just so frustrating to have to like. It might just be the way that my brain is wired up. It's not wired up to take thoughts from my brain, translate them into text, and then say them. It really is set up to do this and read the words as they appear, and then judge them as they're appearing magically on the screen. And also just editing is just a big problem. I do like the fact that when I'm going to get a sore throat, the longer I write, that does tend to get me to make that 4,000 word column like an 800 word column instead. But it's no way to live, man. It's just no way to live.
Well, I wouldn't write a long column, but I do like a little dictation. Oh, yeah. But you know what? If you don't want to use it, you have a keyboard, and I think that's
it's a good keyboard placement.
What we would get upset about is if they take the keyboard out, and then you could say reasonably, I will not.
I was going to say, they pulled away the Crow dip pen, and I said nothing because I used a ballpoint. Then they took away the ballpoint. I said nothing because I used a keyboard. Then they took away my keyboard, and there was nobody to speak for. Everyone who was speaking was actually just dictating text and couldn't be bothered to save me.
Now the chat room's been having fun guessing who the next Siri celebrity ad will be by. One is by William Shatner. I think that'd be good. Siri. And that would be fun. Patrick Stewart, make it so, Siri. That'd be good.
No, I know who the next one is.
Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. Siri, find me a bar. What will it be, Alex?
I think it's Coeur d'Alene.
Who's that?
He's the
Coeur d'Alene. Oh,
open the pod bay doors.
Oh, right. Coeur d'Alene. Yeah. Siri. Siri.
If there were like an office pool on this, I would put in my $10, and written on that $10 bill would be the name Jim Parsons.
Who's that?
He's the
Sheldon.
He's Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon.
I could just see
Siri
him writing a 30-second scene in which he's
good.
Being a little bit like himself, a little bit like Sheldon, having a conversation and being very, very comfortable having a conversation with the phone. That would be my.
Somebody said Alec Baldwin. I think Alec's been doing a lot of ads lately. I could see him doing it absolutely. Absolutely. That'd be very funny. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Let's see. There's a lot of good choices out there. Gary Busey.
Ryan Blessed.
Woody Allen.
Act like a burrito near here.
I'm going to have to get Kevin Pollak on the show, and he can just do impressions of Siri ads. President Obama, I don't think, is available. Gilbert Gottfried, Leonard Nimoy, Jim Carrey.
Obviously, Apple has a long ad campaign in front of them.
I think that's Robin Williams would be fun, wouldn't he? Donald Trump.
You wouldn't even have to script that one. I mean, if you've ever been around Robin Williams,
just let him go.
Script it, just hand him the phone and let him do whatever he's going to do, and it'll be great.
You'd have 4 hours. You can cut down to 30 good seconds.
Yep, exactly.
George Takei. I think we got some good. Lewis Black, Sean Connery, Sherry. Oh, Sherry.
Give me a ping, Sherry. One thing only.
Paul Lind, if he were alive. Well, anyway, we've got some good choices. I hope Apple's paying attention. Siri has been banned at the IBM headquarters, by the way. IBM, now this is the strangest decision. IBM says, well, we found out that everything you say to Siri goes to the North Carolina data center. And we think that's a security flaw, so we're going to ban the use of Siri on our network. I guess they just block, I don't know how they do it. They somehow block Siri. Yeah. That's just like, don't use Google either, because guess what? It's all going to Google, too. In fact, maybe you should just turn off that pesky internet, IBM. That's a security problem. Apple and Samsung, remember the Samsung CEO came to San Francisco for settlement talks with Tim Cook. Nothing came of it. They failed to agree on a settlement that would have ended the company's year-long patent fight. The legal teams met in a San Francisco courtroom for 9 hours last week. 7 hours.
I still think that was just a requirement that Apple had to do to make sure that they were acting in quote-unquote good faith.
I bet they sat there for 9 hours like this.
Yeah.
Arms folded.
And did everything they could not to say, we were going to squash you.
A Samsung spokesman said the company is, quote, unable to provide any details of the meeting. Apple did not respond to comment. Highlighting a lack of agreement, Wednesday, shortly after those 16 hours of meetings, Samsung filed a brief accusing Apple of concealing evidence, saying Apple withheld 283 relevant deposition transcripts totaling more than 34,000 pages of testimony throughout the discovery period and for 6 weeks thereafter, preventing Samsung from using these materials. Boy, it's just ugly. It's just ugly. By the way, in March, Apple accused Samsung of doing the same thing. So,
and they're really, from a revenue perspective, I think they're actually very close in size, aren't they? So it's not like
that's interesting. Well, and Apple uses Samsung's a big supplier for a lot of the parts that Apple uses.
Right, but it's not a David and Goliath kind of thing here.
No, Samsung can stand up to Apple, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this is not Apple picking on some little company.
It doesn't look
they're toe to toe.
Maybe it's just me, but I think it looks kind of churlish on the part of Apple. I understand that they believe that they were infringed upon, and so they have a right to pursue that. But as Samsung rapidly becomes the biggest number 2 cell phone company, I mean, the Galaxy S3, 9 million pre-orders. That came out today, I think, in the UK. I'm sorry, you should be there. We have a visitor from the UK. I ordered mine. It should come any day now, and then June 20th. I'm sorry, in the US. This is a very hot phone right now. I think they're scared. I think it looks like they're scared.
Well, I think that with any of these, not only is there obviously handling the current case, but it's also a message to a lot of other folks that we're not going to. You just need to, Samsung may have a lot of money, but you may not.
Right. So don't mess with us.
This is going to turn out. Yeah. This is a message. This is that moment from when Gene Hackman is beating up in Unforgiven, when he's beating up. I'm not hitting you, Bob. Right. I'm kicking all these guys in Montana and Kansas and everything else. To remind them that this is not a place to do this. I think that's also part of the message. I think
the jailbreak for iOS 5.1.1, the most recent version of iOS, Absinthe 2.0, was downloaded this weekend. almost 1 million times. 973,086 devices have been jailbroken as of Sunday evening. Of that, 211,000, about a quarter, were Apple's newest iPad. The program came out on Friday, runs to a computer connected to an iOS device, and works with the iPhone as well as the iPad. That's a lot of jailbreaking. Do you guys believe in jailbreaking? It's completely legal.
There's too much trouble for me.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah. I mean, all you get is third-party apps, right? I mean, that's basically what you're doing.
Third-party apps, so it's great if you like to tweak, because if you go to Cydia and look at the repository, you see a lot of really cool innovations on changes to the lock screen, shortcuts for hardware features like turning Bluetooth on and off just with like a one-button tap in order to get things done, multi-touch gestures for doing operating system level things. But you really have to love those sort of things. You really have to believe that the stock iOS is really fundamentally broken to make it worth your while, because remember that when you jailbreak your phone, you are by definition you're exploiting a security vulnerability, and you're usually adding a new vulnerability if you don't do it correctly.
Right.
I should clarify. I haven't checked out this latest one. I haven't actually jailbroken a device in about 6 months, but there's always like a long list of things. Now, after you've opened this door, make sure you shut it. Make sure you adapt other things, but it's just not worth it. It's not like Android, ROM flashing, ROM hacking, where you can say everything that you don't like about this, about the ROMs that HTC or that T-Mobile put into this thing. You can actually get rid of the skin that they put onto Android, replace it with a stock Android, or replace it with a new really cool modded ROM set that makes it look as slick as an iPhone does. There just isn't that same sort of attraction on iOS, at least not for me.
Moving along. I'm looking at the Boy Genius report here. I have another article. Unfortunately, it's on Yahoo. I like to show the original on the Boy Genius instead of just the Yahoo repeat.
Isn't that a little bit annoying where you discover an article that's really, really interesting, and you actually have to click on 4 different links before you get to
original.
The person who actually broke the story and did the research. And that was picked up by website B, who essentially paraphrased the whole thing and just said, "Oh, well, by the way, here's a tiny little link."
Who was it called? I think it was Adam Curry who called the Huffington Post Ariana Huffington's little AOL Xerox machine. It is a shame. This is from Yahoo, but really originally from the Boy Genius report, Zach Epstein. After 2 months, usage of the iPad 3rd generation has passed the original iPad model. Software analytics firm Localytics says that the latest iPad is now 14% of the U.S. iPad market. That happened in just 4 days because of the 3 million device debut. And now, a week and 2 months after the 3rd iPad launched, the new model's share of U.S. usage more than 20%, surpassing the original model for the first time. So a big success for the new iPad. Not surprising.
No, it was just too much better over the iPad 2. The iPad 2 was sort of an incremental thing. I think I think the new iPad represented a lot of pent up demand, both people who were happy with the iPad 1 but weren't happy enough with the iPad 2 to make that upgrade, and people who have been sort of thinking about an iPad for the past couple of years but have never really pulled the chain. But now the iPad 3 is just too compelling a device.
So it's 20% the first iPad, 20% the second iPad. That means 60% iPad 2 of all iPad usage. And I presume they mean online. I don't know how else they could figure that out.
I wonder if it's a bandwidth or hits. Because the iPad, if it's by bandwidth, the iPad, the new iPad would be possibly sucking up a lot more because of the resolution and so on and so forth.
Right. By the way, good news, the TSA is spending $3 million on Macs and other Apple gear. We're just tired of these PCs. We want more Macs. It's the latest.
Well, hopefully Hopefully it'll get faster.
They're actually moving away from BlackBerries and Windows PCs. It's a pilot program to run over the next 3 years. They will buy Macs, iPhones, iPads, and even Apple TVs. Because after a hard day searching malefactors at the airport, you need to relax and watch some Apple TV. This is just a pilot program, $3 million.
Welcome to the United States government. Let's figure this out. Let's throw $3 billion at it and see how it works.
They also may be deploying iOS devices to security officers and screeners. There are some.
Well, all I got to say is I hope it speeds things up, because in the last couple months, I have to say the TSA has gotten much slower. I'm not sure if it's because there's greater terrorist risk or something else, but things have gotten a bit slower. I feel positive that this
is going to make a difference. They're going to
speed our lines up.
They're going to start using FaceTime because it uses encryption that meets federal standards, including the HIPAA Act.
Isn't it funny that they're using FaceTime because it has better standards, but IBM is not using Siri because of security issues? It's a very interesting cross-section.
Well, I think that's more about transparency than anything else. Remember that when Apple introduced FaceTime, the Steve Jobs basically filled the entire screen with 3-letter and 4-letter acronyms for all the different standards that it supports.
Yeah,
and so if the government has a standard saying you can't use any video conferencing that does not use one of these 3 standards is deemed insecure, well then you're good. The problem is that Apple, we don't know what happens to data when it gets into like a random data center. Chances are extremely likely that nothing happens because it's just it goes into the same place where the Ark of the Covenant was stored. I mean, there's just so much stuff in there, and such a small fraction of it is of any interest to anybody that there's just no point in trying to hammer through the security. But you don't know that, and so that's why people just don't tend to trust it. On the other hand, remember that Google is now under indictment. Is now in trouble from multiple governments in the world because of Google Street View vans, where it knows that the vans have been collecting a lot more data than simply GPS data, street data, and nearby Wi-Fi access points, and yet. Every time that the highest government official imaginable says to Google, we demand that you turn over all this information so that we know exactly what your trucks were doing, they say, I'm sorry, top government security agency representative who's in charge of data security for all of its citizens of this country, I can't release that information to you because it would breach the privacy of the citizens whom we stole this data from. And okay, good. That's whoever got paid to write that response for you. That's. I hope you have loose-fitting trousers for obvious reason, but you're getting away with it for now. So it's all about transparency. You would like. I think Apple is probably the most trustworthy company of its size, where you trust that not only are they competent, they don't do things accidentally. They don't accidentally have these data breaches. I'm sure that there have been a couple exceptions, but by and large, you trust them to know what they're doing. But also, you do trust them to take seriously the idea that, look, if we happen to collect this piece of information about GPS information off your phone, it is truly because we're just trying to create a map we're trying to create our own traffic map. We are not going to repurpose it for any other purpose. And now that we found out that we've actually done that in an improper way, we're taking that away and making sure that you know that we've taken away this thing that people don't like. You're really not sure that Google follows the same map, and you know that Facebook is being actively hostile and making sure that they get as much information as possible. I mean, can you think of any company that you would less trust to build and design a phone from the ground up that is inside your pocket and follows you around forever than Facebook? I don't think so.
Big auction at Sotheby's of Apple memorabilia. A circuit board, an Apple One circuit board, hand-built by Wozniak. There are 200 units were made, 50 survive, 6 in working order. They expect that the Apple One motherboard will go between $120,000 and $180,000. The lot includes a cassette interface and several manuals, including a rare basic user's manual. And Sotheby's has sold Apple Ones before this. An Apple One sold for $213,000 a couple of years ago. Here's the motherboard. In case you're interested, it says Apple Computer One, and it's operational. So this is one of the 5 remaining operational. And then this is cool. This is a note from Steve Jobs that he wrote while he was at Atari. It looks like handwritten in pencil.
Actually, I was looking at that a couple of days ago. It's actually, that's just like the cover addendum to a report he wrote on how to adopt a console, an arcade game that that Atari was developing, complete with like ideas for new circuits to add new features to it.
In addition to my report, which I forgot to type in under the section paddles, D, cut E6-1, jumper E6-1 to E6-2. This simple wire changes the left defenseman to a format like this, which is the way I had it on the prototype. If any questions, see me. Well, that's kind of cool. They say this might go as high as $15,000. $10,000 to $15,000. And it was acquired by the present owner directly from Atari in 2002. That's kind of neat.
That is neat, and I think we're going to see a lot more auctions like this as he's not up there with Edison or Tesla, but in terms of nerds that the sort of nerd icon where in another generation or two or three, nerds are going to very much cherish a page that was actually handwritten by the great Steve Jobs himself. I think that he's one of those names that in another generation or two is going to become a bigger deal. So I would be surprised to see a lot of speculation for this thing.
They last year they had the original 3-page contract between Woz, Jobs, and Ron Wayne to found Apple. They thought that would sell for $150,000 and ended up selling for $1.6 million to Edward Cisneros, who is a Miami banker and investor. $1.6 million. So maybe this stuff will go for a lot more. Be a great Christmas gift, I think, for the Apple lover in your family.
I've said before that, like the previous generations in the 20th century, movies were like the big center of adulation. The music was the big center of adulation. Sometimes cars, the big center of adulation. There's a whole generation which technology is really that thing that really speaks to us. And so they're just like there was a time when you could buy Dorothy's ruby slippers from the Wizard of Oz for $3,000, and everybody thought, oh my God, can you believe that those old shoes from that old movie got $3,000? Right. And now it's like several $100,000 or not the actual ones, but for a demonstration pair. And so I think that this is kind of what we're going to be seeing as more of these artifacts. And now we can actually call them not just cheap junk that I wasted my money on at the MIT flea market, but actual artifacts are showing up. How else to explain? What was it, $12,000 for the prototype? The engineering sample iPad with the 2 dock connectors on it.
Hey, just one nice note. Tim Cook turns down $75 million in dividends because Tim Cook is a big Apple stockholder. And you remember they declared a dividend, a $2.65 quarterly dividend on restricted units held by employees. Tim has said, I'm not going to take it.
And when I think also, I don't think it's held by all employees. So I think that's one of the things that some of the employees have restricted, some don't. And so I think that there was definitely a potential firestorm waiting on the other side of that payout that he doesn't really need because he's going to keep on probably making.
That's a lot of money to walk away from, though. $75 million.
He does have 300 and some million worth stock. So.
Right.
In a company that has been doing okay.
I guess he doesn't need it. There's
an area of wealth in which you realize that the amount of money that you're turning down would kill you if it fell on you from 10 feet, from 10 foot height. Okay, that's a different level of wealth than we're used to.
That's a good goal. I just want to make enough money that if it fell from 10 feet, it would kill me.
Well, if it's in quarters, almost anything would kill you. We're going to take a break, come back with our iOS and Lion tip of the week and our picks of the week as well. Andy Ihnatko, Alex Lindsay, and me talking Mac, talking smack. But first, a word from Pond 5, the world's stock media marketplace. These guys, again, a lot of our sponsors, and this sounds like me trite to say this, but they're really nice people. We met the Pond 5 guys at CES, at NAB. And they really are. They're great. And they've created a really great marketplace for stock photos, video, illustrations, vector illustrations, music, sound effects. It's just great. First of all, one of the reasons they have such a huge selection, 1 million plus video clips, 7 million photos, 250,000 sound effects, and new stuff all the time, is because they give the best royalty rate in the business, 50% split with the artist, the creator, and you get to set your price. So you really can set how much you're going to make on this. They also offer free stock video clip every week. This week it is of a mountain biker. So you should go every week to pond5.com and just download these. It'd be great in your presentations, your films, whatever you're up to. It's always nice to have, and it gives you a sense of the quality. Almost all of the video clips are high def, and the search tools on here are fantastic. Looking for, almost anything, you'll find it, including things like audio logos and news and so forth. Let's play an advertising logo. That's for the holidays. So these are very affordable. Ooh. This is TWiT. I like that. I might use that one. That's nice. If you're doing production, if you're doing presentations, this is a great place to buy. If you make content, it's a great place to sell. And often it's the same people doing both at the same time at Pond5. Pond and the number 5.com. Prices start at just $5 for stock video and music. Look at that HDR time lapse of the Eiffel Tower. That is beautiful. And $2 for sound effects. Bora Bora. Here's the deal. If you go there right now, you get 25% off this month when you use the code TWiT25. TWiT25. Just let them know that you heard this ad. Your purchase at Pond5 is 25% off when you use the offer code TWiT25 this month. Pond5.com. And do consider selling your stock photos and so forth there. They really offer a very, very fair price. All right, time for. Would you like to, Alex? I know you've been busy, but would you like to do an iOS tip for us this week?
Sure, absolutely. So, there's two things. One is a lot of people are, travel, and sometimes they travel as much as I do. Sometimes they don't. But when you leave the country, one of the things you want to remember is that, your international plan needs to be turned on. Now, one of the great things I have to say, I don't say a lot of nice things about AT&T, but I will say that one of the great things is they actually manage this pretty tightly. And if you go over, a lot of times they're going to call you and tell you that I just got a call today, told me that I had gone way over even my international bill now that I've been in London for a long time. But here's what's really interesting is the thing to know, and to call ahead, they only tell you about one level of the AT&T international plan because they don't think anyone's interested in the higher level.
There's a better level?
Yeah. There is there's a 50 megabyte plan, right? That most people know about. There's actually an 800 megabyte plan.
Yeah, but how much is that? $1,000?
No, it's not. I don't know. We just charged it, so I have to find out.
It's probably $500 at least.
But it's something like, I think it's another $200 on top of the $200 that you pay for your international plan. But they called because they were like, okay, so you're going to get a bill for $600, and we'd like to help you avoid that. Yeah, really. But what I thought was great was that they actually. They called me in London today and told me that, but they usually don't tell you about it unless you're like me and just decided that I'm here, I'm working. And
if you're there for a long time, you're going to need it. Yeah.
And so the other thing so one of the things is that you want to know that exists and call them and ask for it. The second one is that anytime you leave the country and you think that whether you have an international plan or not, always remember to go into general. There are other ways to do it, but minimum, go into general, into your general area in your iPhone. Go to usage and reset your usage. There's a usage that tells you time, but at the very bottom there's cellular usage, and there you'll see sent and received packets. And you can reset those statistics, and that is something that you should. There are better, more accurate ways to log into your account at AT&T and make sure that data is accurate. But it is key. Every time I leave the country, I turn that on just so I have just kind of a running sense, because you'd be surprised if you're checking Google Maps all the time in London. You'd be surprised how many megabytes you're downloading to figure that out. And then finally, for the travel folks, is remember that getting cellular, like little Wi-Fi in either Japan or London and many other places, those little Wi-Fi cards are pretty cheap. You can get a little, one of those MiFis or something like a MiFi. Oftentimes for as little as $70, $70 or $80. That comes with 5 gigabytes of download or upload. And a lot of times it's pay as you go. You buy a little thing and you can pay as you go with new little SIMs. And that could save you a lot of money if you have it just sitting in your pocket. I've done that a lot in Japan, and I started doing it here in London, where I just bought one of those and just now I can, now I'm getting 5 gigabytes. I'm not talking about hundreds of megabytes here or there, and that's just with my phone. My phone is syncing to it via Wi-Fi, and so all of the real heavy data is being done with something locally, and I don't have to buy another phone. I don't have to change my SIM. I don't have to, that all of those things I don't have to do to make sure that I localize my data usage. So a couple things for those of you who travel like me.
Very good. Our iOS tips. Thank you, Alex. And I concur, by the way, on the international travel. One of the reasons I carry my iPhone is because of that AT&T deal, and I can easily track usage and so forth. I think it's a good idea. Andy Ihnatko, you have a lion tip for us? I'm not a lion.
Yes, and actually, one more note, because I did use AT&T International roaming while I was in Ireland. What I found out is that they will actually, if you call and ask, like I bought like about 100 megabytes because I wasn't going to be using a whole lot. I wound up using only about 30 megabytes, and I wasn't going to be traveling internationally again. So if you call, they will simply refund you the cost of the 70% of the amount you paid for but did not use.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. AT&T knocks the international usage out of the park. I mean, they really. Right. There's a lot of things I don't like about it that I complain about with them, but I got to say, as an international user, I'm really hooked because of how well they manage users.
Wow, I had no idea they'd refund you for the unused portion. Though.
Yeah, it was great stuff. And what Alex says is absolutely true too. I mean, if there is some sort of a screw up, like you thought you had enabled it but you did not, or you forgot, or you thought you can get by without it, but you wound up using it. You can. It's just absolutely trivial to simply say, "Hi, yeah, could we pretend that 2 weeks ago I bought, let's say, 2 gigabytes worth of international roaming because I watched a lot of Netflix on the
They will do
that.
They will do that. Yeah, yeah. I've had them do that as well.
macOS tip is actually all about Keynote. If you give lots and lots of presentations, I mean, there's a certain level of understanding about Keynote. You go up to a certain point where you can actually just sort of be the things you can figure out just by playing with the app, but then you don't go much further. And then you really do have to, like, at some point, look for like the whole list of like commands and shortcuts and read the manual. I actually was kicking myself because I've been using Keynote for years, and there are 3 really, really great keyboard shortcuts. Just like one letter as you're giving your presentation, just tap this button, and a wonderful thing will happen that you always wish you could make happen. If you've ever been setting up a presentation, you're setting up for dual screen, and for the life of you, you cannot make the right. You cannot have the presenter screen wind up on the screen in front of you and the slide screen wind up on the big projector. It doesn't matter how you configure things, and you finally say, screw it, I was going to go to mirroring because I don't want people to see. I don't want a countdown timer on the big 40-foot screen, and I can't see what I'm doing. There's actually a shortcut, tap the X key, and that will just no guesses, no wheres or whys or wherefores. It will just simply switch whatever 2 screens you're using right now. So if you plug in your projector and the screens are screwed up, tap the letter X, it will immediately switch, and you're solved. The letter R will reset the timer immediately. So if you started the timer going when you were introduced, but then like somebody, like there was a delay of some kind, and now you don't know, okay, did the fire alarm take 4 minutes to do? Oh, damn it, okay. Tap the R button, and that will restart the timer from 0. The really cool thing, which was the really huge kick myself in the pants. There are times when you're using Keynote as your main presentation tool, but you're dipping into maybe you're giving a presentation that teaches people how to use Aperture or something, or maybe you want to dip into QuickTime Player to actually show a video, but also be able to have a little bit more control over what goes on. There is actually a shortcut. So that if before you started the presentation, you were switching between QuickTime Player and Keynote, if you just tap the H button, that will automatically switch you between Keynote and whatever the last used app was, and back again. So you can be in the middle of your presentation and suddenly realize, oh, wait a minute, I should really show you how to do this in Photoshop. Tap the H button, that will put you into Photoshop. Do whatever you want to do. Tap the then when you have to, of course, Command Tab to go back into Keynote because obviously you're outside the Keynote environment. But it's just one key that will automatically switch you away from whatever slide you're on to whatever your last app was, and then it's easy to get back in again. But in any event, Keynote is definitely one of those things where you will get a lot out of it just by messing around with it and trying to figure out how things go on your own. But then sit down, download the manual, go to the support pages, and then you will find out, oh, that thing that I laboriously spent a half hour trying to fake is actually a 2-keystroke keyboard shortcut that I could have done all automatically. Okay, lesson learned. I'm stupid.
Well, I do a lot of, obviously a lot of work where there's a lot of presentations and people are posting stuff on big screens. And it's amazing to see when I started doing this, a lot of it was PowerPoint. A lot of people are trying to figure it out. And you almost never, ever see anything but Keynote now in the background. Behind stage. I mean, everything's Keynote. I mean, it's just, PowerPoint. I saw one today and I didn't even recognize, someone was using PowerPoint for something. And I was like, I didn't even recognize the interface. I hadn't seen it for so long. It's just, it's $15. It's just an amazing application.
I think it's time for our picks of the week. Can I start?
Sure.
I never start, but it's my turn to say something. Actually, I want to point out a few things. Both the App Store and the iTunes App Store have started doing Editor's Choices and Apps of the Week. On the iTunes Store for the iPhone, you can now get a free app every week. Amazon's been doing this for a while, Google as well. Right now, it's Cut the Rope Experiments, free for a limited time. And it's a fun game. I highly recommend it. So I guess we now all have to head to the App Store on a regular basis to check the Editor's Choice. And the Editor's Choice on the main App Store this week got me big time. It's a program called CoBook, and it's a better address book, and it really is. It's awesome. It's very cool. We'll sync with your standard address book in OS X, but we'll also sync with LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and your Google contacts, which is what I use. So it becomes a very powerful address book that is right there in your menu bar at all times. Highly recommend this. It's just fantastic. It's absolutely free. You could see it brings in images, links, and so forth from all of the sources for it. Very quick to search. If I search for Lindsay, Alex Lindsay's going to pop up right away. I know he's 41 years old. His birthday is July 10th. Other details will show up. If I want to edit this, you see it has an edit field right there, and you can add a lot more to it. You can even favorite it. I'm going to give you a little heart, just because I like you so very much. No, I guess that's not for you. That's for CoBook. Look at that. Just to share it. It should be for you. I should give you a little heart. So this is a really, really nice address book that synchronizes with all the other address books that you might be using, including your social media address books. And it is free. It is called CoBook. Really like it. Highly recommend it. I now have between Fantastical and CoBook, I pretty much got everything in the menu bar. I no longer have to run apps anymore. Cool. The menu bar is a little bit overloaded, as others have noticed whenever they see my Mac. Alex, your pick of the week, my friend.
So this came out, I think, last week or the week before. So I've talked before about there was a program that Autodesk did where you can actually take pictures and turn them into 3D models, and I can't at the moment think of what it used to be called, but they've changed it now, and it's called 123D Catch, and it is available on the iPad, and
Whoa.
it is free, and you should run, not walk, and download. It is free, and it is insane fun. That's all I got to say. So, there's some great examples on there. It takes a little while to get used to learning how to do it, but it's. Did I tell you the part where it was free? I know
that is spectacular.
It is spectacular. So I've been running around London taking pictures of stuff, and you basically you turn this thing on, and then you just kind of click around an object, and then you upload it to the cloud, and it comes back down as a 3D model. And then now to make it even more insane, they have another program called 3D Make, and I believe it's Make. Yes, 123D Make, and so you could model something, create a 3D model, and this is free as well. It's on your iPad, it will give you the outlines that you would need to cut it out of cardboard and put it together.
What? That's awesome. That's hysterical. Because I was going to say I don't have a 3D printer. What am I going to do with these?
You could. It's like
I can make a cardboard cutout.
You could make a cardboard. You can take any 3D model and import it, and
that's neat.
make it. It's just hilarious. So 123D catch and 123D make. Now, some people might ask, can I download the 3D model to use it in a 3D application? And the way that you would do that is you can go to your website, log in, because you're going to log in via Facebook or Twitter or G+, and so you can do the same thing from their website, and then you can download an OBJ file, which 3D folks will know what that is. So you can actually get 3D models that you can use in your 3D application if you so need to. And as I said, it takes a little while to learn how to use it, but when it works so well. Like every little nook and cranny. Now I'm kind of mystified why it's not available on the iPhone. So I'm assuming that at some point in the near future it will be, but right now it's an iPad app only.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Very, very cool. And Andy Ihnatko, your pick of the week.
Mine isn't quite so cool as that, but it's fun as that, at least. Earlier on today, I was, as usual, like waiting for like Skype to finish its issues,
Yes, you were doing a great job too. We really appreciate it.
And so, entertaining three people and befuddling anybody who knows how to play an instrument. This is a new app for the iPad called Fuchu. Horrible name, Fuchulele. I think they're going for a hybrid of Future and ukulele. But it is actually a really pretty, can you hear that? It's actually a pretty good ukulele simulator.
Oh, that's wild.
In which you get, I'm turning up the volume on the screen behind me, so this, right. So you can actually, oops. You can pre-program, like if you want to do Devil in the Deep Blue Sea like this, you can actually preset all of the chords you need inside this pad, and then see. And so works pretty good. It's you can pre-program a number of different songs. A bunch of them are built in. The intonation is pretty good. It is multi-touch, so you can try to do, I don't know, you can try to do George Formby strokes. Well, you can try, I can barely do it on a real ukulele, let alone the fake one. But the real cool thing is that there is a iPhone app that's in the approvals process for the App Store right now that will give you like a ukulele fretboard, so that the fretboard, you're strumming on the iPad, but there is an actual fretboard on the iPhone that you can actually do traditional ukulele fingering with. And also sometime in the summer, there is going to be third-party guitar cases, like a little strip of plastic, like a little frame that holds the iPad and the iPhone in the same sort of ukulele configuration, so it's not quite so hard to hold them both at the same time. I used to travel with ukulele sometimes, but after the baggage restrictions started to kick in, where it would cost me $50 round trip to bring a bag with a ukulele in it, I kind of stopped bringing my ukulele places.
Yeah,
but if I got myself an iPhone, I got myself an iPad, I might be willing to spend $20 or $30 for this little plastic frame, so that if I do want to sort of rehearse my little ukulele distracted playing, I could actually do that. And it's actually, it's not that bad. See, unfortunately, there's also there's, when you see the transition to the bridge, you got me in between the devil and the deep blue sea. See, these chords are the killer ones I can't really do very well. I've got this one. I've got those good, which is why during the 10 minutes before the show, I'm playing just those 4 chords over and over again. It's rather exciting.
Oh, you're
to
practicing.
Be able to play.
I get it.
I can actually do these barred chords on this one, only because it involves me tapping one button instead of trying to make my finger do what George Harrison's fingers do after 30 years of being a really exceptionally good guitar player. $5. I mean, that's a lot of fun for $5. And if it pays for itself the first time, they don't have to pay to ship my ukulele.
Do you think you could learn uke that way? I guess you could.
Probably not, because it's not just it's fun.
It's just an instrument. It's not
for what you kind of want a ukulele for, which is just I'll have some fun with my friends and play music. That's good.
Right.
But to actually play the ukulele, it's not only doing the fingering, but it's also learning how that you've got to basically get your finger right next to the fret to get a good tone. You got to sort of learn where your fingernail is. It took me like 2 days with my first ukulele before I could do this instead of wait. Okay, wait, haven't done yet. Wait. Okay, wait, hang on. So. Anyway, $5. A lot of fun for $5.
Ukapalooza 2012.
Well, when I see a lot of those instruments, one of the things when you think about an Apple TV that would be really cool is to have like 5 iPads with all these different instruments, all being able to link to your Apple TV in your living room, and you can be all like jamming away and have the computer fill in the ones that you don't have, and wouldn't be that hard.
Alex Lindsay is in London, where he is working with the Pixel Core, pixelcore.com. If you want to learn more, are you going to reopen it to memberships at any point soon?
This summer.
Good.
Yeah. So we're going to reopen it. We're just doing a couple shifts, and then we're going to open it back up for folks to join very soon.
Awesome. And of course, pixelcore.tv for the podcasts, and
I'm threatening. I'm threatening to do a get together on Thursday night, and so if you're following me on Twitter or G+, you can find me pretty easily on G+,
and he's dead. Well, he made it right to the very end before he froze solid. I love it. Thank you, Alex. Andy Ihnatko is at the Chicago Sun-Times, where you can catch his great writing all the time. He's also, of course, on his website, The Celestial Waste of Bandwidth, and his ukulele performing album is available soon at an iTunes near you. You do need to do a CD. You know that.
I really want to do it the Amanda Palmer method, but unfortunately that means me spending 4 years working really, really hard, performing for free for everyone who wants me to every single day. I'm not sure that either people would love my performances that much, or if I would love performing quite that much.
Okay. Well, we'll just, actually, why not make it exclusive here at MacBreak Weekly?
Exactly. We'll do our own TWiT festival.
And maybe, perhaps, you ever play on Ihnatko's Almanac?
Not quite. Not yet, but maybe I should think about doing that.
I'm not encouraging it. I want it all to myself.
You're by not encouraging me to play anymore, you're way ahead of my audience.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on twit.tv. You can catch the show live. Love it if you do. The chat room, as you can see, is always a big part of our show. Sometimes they even pick the stories we're going to do. And if you can't catch it live, we make audio and video available after the fact for download on all the finer podcast aggregators, including Instacast. I didn't talk about the Instacast flatter issue on iTunes. We'll have to talk about that. And where else? Oh, iTunes itself. You'll find us. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Now, back to work, because break time is over.